So that's the reason I'm here, to tell you how well you've done, how well we've done. I mean, I just came in and people greeted me, "Sir, thank you very much for what you've done." I said, "Oh, where are you from?" "Memphis." "What did I do?" "You stopped crime, and your sheriffs are so thankful." Last September, my administration launched the initiative modeled on D.C. Safe Task Force in our nation's capital. One of the most amazing things. But for years prior to our involvement, Memphis had become known for something else, being the murder capital of the USA. That's not a good title. It was averaging far more than one murder per day, with a crime rate higher than Colombia, Mexico City, or Baghdad. In the year, I shouldn't be saying this, but here's the good news, it's been fixed, all right? I hate to say this because it's so negative. It's so negative. In the year before I took office, Memphis saw more than 12,500 violent assaults, 129 rapes, and 7,600 burglaries and armed robberies. And it was getting worse. But just as we have in D.C., here in Memphis, we've achieved one of the largest, fastest declines in violent crime ever recorded. So that's something, right? Ever recorded. In fact, you're half a percentage point away from the record, so we'll catch them in the next month or two, all right? I think that's going to happen. But that includes a 60% drop in robberies, a 74% drop in carjacking, and motor vehicle thefts. We have always achieved numbers that are good. So we've achieved a 70% reduction in murders from the peak in this place. In total, we've arrested 7,000 criminals, seized more than 1,100 illegal guns, taken more than 1,000 pounds of illicit narcotics, and rescued more than 150 missing children, making their parents beyond happy. Safe again. Memphis, just so you know, with all of the things we said, you have now developed a reputation as a city that's coming back stronger than any city in the country because of what's happened with crime and because your political leaders had the courage to do what they did. That still leaves 20%. You're going to be down in another 2 months, 3 months, I think, Addie. We're going to be down to almost no crime. You're going to be an almost crime-free city. You're going to be so proud of it. People are going to stay. They're going to actually come back because you have everything going, but you have that one horrible cloud over your head. Essentially, people know it's happening, but essentially in another 2 months, you're not going to have anything. You're going to have a virtually crime-free city. So today, I'm pleased to announce, we like the sound of it better, that the Secretary of War just signed a directive to ensure that all National Guard members serving on this task force, as well as in D.C., New Orleans, and our border security missions, will receive the same benefits as active duty troops because you deserve it. They're all guys that supported me, Pam, every one of them. For years, our leaders allowed entire cities in America to be destroyed by crime, drugs, and gang violence. Tolerating this violence was always a choice. 19 of the 20 most dangerous cities in America are run by Democrats. I'm surprised. I thought it was 20 of 20. I don't know why it's 19. I don't believe it. It's like, I heard it was 25 out of 25. Well, I'll find out about it because I don't believe it's right. Whoever wrote that statistic is wrong. But under the Trump administration, we believe that no city or neighborhood should be left behind. In Memphis, the crime became so horrible that residents were made prisoners of violence in their own community, in their own home. But with the help of the great people right here at this table and right here, it's a whole different story right now. It's changing fast, and it'll be record-setting in a very short period of time, and I'll be here to celebrate it with you. But I especially want to thank Speaker Sexton, who's working with the task force to pass model bills that will be tough on crime, to deliver permanent safety to the people of Memphis. And really, I don't know if you know, but they're looking at this all over the country, what you're doing. They're studying it. That's why I know your name so well. And all over the country, they're studying it. And so I hope you do a great job, as simple as you can and as complex in the sense of we want to be tough. We want to be strong on crime because that's the thing. We want to have heart. We want to have fairness, but we have to be tough because some of these people are bad people that should have never been allowed to be here. Since I took office, we have successfully arrested or removed from the country over 500
order in Memphis. At that point, the city of Memphis was overwhelmed with unprecedented levels of violent crime, to include some of the nation's highest per capita rates of murder, robbery, and aggravated assault. Memphis residents could not safely enjoy a walk downtown. Parents were fearful of their children playing outside, and local businesses struggled to prosper. The mission you gave us was clear and concise. Crime will not prevail in Memphis, period. The city will not be surrendered to lawlessness. President Trump, thank you for your leadership. We had a blueprint, quickly restoring. We began our deployment to Memphis and commenced operations on September 29, 2025 with 20 partner agencies and 200 task force members. Now we partner with 33 multi-agency teams throughout the Memphis area. We have the support of over 2,700 officers and National Guard members who comprise the Memphis Safe Task Force, most of which are out here in the audience. In just over 6 months, the Memphis Safe Task Force has made over 7,342 arrests, this is last week's numbers, with charges ranging from homicide, there was 44 of those, 812 drug offenses, and 757 gang-related offenses. We have seized over 1,200 illegal firearms and located and returned 150 missing children. Each of these arrests and seizures of illegal contraband have a ripple effect, bringing justice to victims, relief to communities, and the prevention of future offenses. Public safety outlook in Memphis has improved dramatically. In the past 6 months, collectively, our efforts have resulted in a 43% reduction in total serious crimes, 37% reduction in murder, 40% reduction in sexual assault, 6% reduction in robbery, 68% reduction in motor vehicle thefts, and the most impressive of all is a 65% increase in the solvability of the crimes that have been committed. These numbers are so impressive that it's often easy to just recite them without reflecting on significant positive impact that we have had on lives of Memphis residents. The city's residents and visitors are now more likely to venture downtown, and our local businesses are rallying back. Large-scale public events have shown improved safety outcomes, as demonstrated during the December 6, 2025 St. Jude Marathon, where 22,000 runners gathered without a single reported downtown burglary, compared to multiple incidents in the prior year. Perhaps the most telling of all is one of our Special Assistant United States Attorneys recently reported that a traveling emergency room doctor, expressed his appreciation for all that the task force had done. You see, he said that in years past, he would see 3 to 5 gunshot victims per shift. And now he sees an average of 1 gunshot victim every 3 or 4 shifts.
Thank you, President Trump. You know, some people choose to tolerate crime, but you chose law and order. And that's why this task force worked. It was all of us, as Gaddy said, working hand in hand with my FBI, DEA, U.S. Marshals, ATF, with Cash, with Terry, with Rob, with Gaddy. Not only that, with Pete, with Department of War, with Homeland Security, with all of my agencies working hand in hand with the National Guard. When you went out there, when we came to Memphis, you could not tell who was with what agency because everyone was working so well together. Our U.S. Mike Donovan was out there. And not only this, everyone needs to know, we met with this president multiple times about this endeavor. The president knew what was going on here. The president cared. People like Alice Johnson sitting in the front row, who is a Memphis resident, she told us what a horrible crime problem there was. And I think the unsung hero in all of this is Stephen Miller. Stephen is the architect of making all of these plans work. Stephen, thank you. Thank you. And just 2 very brief examples. There was a horrible murderer, Arsenio Davis, who last October committed a gruesome double homicide. He killed his mother and dismembered another person. And based on this task force working hand in hand, he's off the street. Another example, a horrible monster who's charged with raping a small child. This task force, all of these members working together, arrested him. We can give you countless examples of that. Over 770 gang members off the streets. And we know there's no normal day for a law enforcement officer. We know it's so dangerous what our law enforcement officers do. But know this, Donald Trump and this administration, we have your backs.
Pete, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for your historic leadership on Operation Epic Fury. The success you've laid out was only possible because of the military you rebuilt, as well as the historic success here in Memphis. And I want to start by thanking every patriot in this room, in law enforcement, and the nearly 1,500 National Guard members for your heroic efforts in this operation. This is more than a task force. This is a statement not just in this city, but across the nation. When I look around this table, I'm looking at people that we work with every day: Governor, Cash, this team, the National Guard, Pam, Stephen, as was mentioned, Gaddy, the Speaker, at the federal level and the state level, working hand in glove. It doesn't happen any other way. You see, before President Trump, our nation was set on a perpetual course of decline. Our defense industrial base had been hollowed out. Our military had lowered its standard, prioritizing equity over merit and lethality. And right here in cities like Memphis, our people were focused on enduring just what seemed to be the status quo of rampant, vicious crime. Well, they let their cities burn to the ground, literally. In the name of hollow humanitarianism, weak leaders, and that's what it is, it's weak leaders, previously provided sanctuary for hordes of dangerous, illegal aliens who preyed on our most vulnerable. Soft on crime, defund the police nonsense, tied the hands of our brave law enforcement heroes while the bad guys ran wild. And the most basic tenets of public safety, the foundations of any civilized society, were labeled as too toxic to implement. Well, not under President Trump. Such engineered chaos combined with a wide open border. By the way, thank you for agreeing to sign that declaration for the Memphis troops, the DC troops, and the troops on our border. They'll now be paid and get benefits just like folks on active duty. Thank you for that, Mr. President. It's an important step of demonstrating how serious this mission is to the Department of War. It's common sense. And it was that same common sense that brought President Trump back to the White House. People were sick and tired of the never-ending crisis. And under President Trump, we will not allow depraved, suicidal ideologies to destroy our great cities. No longer will we sit idly by while illegal aliens and savage criminals rape, murder, and poison the good people of this country. Because every American, without exception, is entitled to safe, clean, and beautiful cities. Cities where you can walk in peace, cities where law enforcement can do their job. And to that end, the Department of War stands shoulder to shoulder with state and federal partners so that our streets can be defended once again. Kind of like the visual I'm looking at right here. I see a lot of civilian leaders and police, law enforcement leaders in the front. And who's behind you? Men and women in camouflage, having your back every single day like we do in this mission. So thank you for working tirelessly to protect this state and restore law and order, and the results, they speak for themselves. Your presence has led to a massive reduction in crime, a reduction the good citizens of Memphis deserve. So thank you, Mr. President, for your leadership in restoring street by street, neighborhood by neighborhood. You are saving Memphis, Tennessee, and the country.
And because of your leadership, Mr. President, putting together the Memphis Safe Task Force, putting these people, this leadership team in place, funding and making possible resources that have never before been made available to a city like has been made for Memphis. Because of that, because of the leadership here, and especially these men and women of law enforcement and the National Guard who have, in fact, gone shoulder to shoulder with not only the multiple agencies involved, but with the people of Memphis. What has happened here has created generational change and will create generational change, and it could not have happened except for what's happening and what we're celebrating here today. So the people of Memphis are grateful.
Well, first and most importantly, thank you to President Trump, whose vision and courage and determination has achieved something that if you had predicted it 15 months ago, people would have said it was impossible. If you had said 15 months ago that we would achieve the lowest national murder rate, not in 5 years or 10 years or 15 or 20 or 30 or 40, but in the 125 years, nobody would have believed it possible. President Trump did exactly that, and it is a miracle. Just think about this. for a second. Under President Trump's leadership, the largest reduction in murders in American history, the largest reduction in violent crime in American history, the largest reduction in drug overdose deaths in American history, the largest reduction in fentanyl in American history, the largest reduction in illegal immigration in American history, and the largest number of criminals arrested, removed, or deported in American history, all done in 1 year. I would just say this, if we had an honest media in this country, the statistics I just gave you would be 24/7 on the news. Nobody could have ever predicted such an achievement would be possible. The second thing I want to thank President Trump for is assembling the greatest national security and public safety team in American history. Because President Trump believes in merit, in competence, in people who get things done. So you look around the table of who President Trump chose for these jobs. You start with Rob or Gaddy or Pam or Pete, Ash, Todd, Terry, the whole entire team. What President Trump put together has never been rivaled in history. That's how you get things done. He chooses people based on their skill, their competence, their ability, their determination, their dedication, and their loyalty, and you're seeing the results. So I just want to again thank President Trump and of course thank the governor as well, who picked up that phone, called President Trump, and said, I want you to help make Memphis safe, although I bet the governor would agree he could never have imagined this safe, this quickly, this many people behind bars. And let's just remember that because of the work that President Trump is doing, not only in Memphis, not only in Washington, D.C., but all over the country, ultimately, it will save and is saving tens of thousands of American lives.
But what we didn't have was you. We didn't have a commander-in-chief who backed the blue, who resourced the blue, who funded the military, who did whatever it takes to safeguard every single life. And here in Memphis, Tennessee, you have put on a show for the world. You have allowed us to go out there and capture gangbangers, rapists, murderers, drug dealers at record historic levels. And for me, a first-generation Indian-American kid whose parents fled a genocide in East Africa to become the 9th director of the FBI, I'm living the wildest dream you could possibly imagine, sir. But it's thanks to you.
When we talk about crime, a lot of times we talk about normalcy. But people get used to high crime. They don't understand what low crime is. And in this city, unfortunately, it became a normal thing seeing high crime. But you deliver freedom to the residents here in Memphis as well as Governor Lee did. And it's as little as watching a kid or a child who said they had a bicycle in their living room and now they're able to ride it outside. We take that for granted. We take that freedom for granted, but because of you, now here in the city of Memphis, kids can ride their bicycle outside, which they never had experienced before. And now what has happened when you have freedom, Mr. President, you have opportunity. You now have hope, you get independence, and then comes prosperity. And that's what making America great is all about. They can be anything they want to be. It doesn't matter where you start out. You can end up wherever you want to be. And that's exactly what you're doing, Mr. President. And then we can talk about crime statistics, but I want to thank you for saving hundreds of lives. And I mean by saving hundreds of lives is those individuals who were not shot and killed in the city of Memphis. Those are saved lives that have something else that God's going to give them to do in their life other than be a crime statistic. In your short period with your team's approach, there are 10,000 less victims in the city of Memphis. Think about that. Hundreds of lives saved, 10,000 less victims. That is an accomplishment that you have never seen in this aspect.
But honestly, sir, if you just look at what we did, this is what happens when strategy actually meets execution. You know, your model is delivering real results, securing communities and making neighborhoods safe. And if more cities would just take the lead and have the strength and constitution like the governor does to make their major cities safe again, this is a prime example of how to do it. This is a direct reflection, sir, of the model that you put in place. This and the Homeland Security task forces that you put into action with your executive order are really what's going to make a difference to this country.
Mr. President, thank you for your assembling of the Memphis Safe Task Force. Your leadership empowered ATF and all of our state and local partners to focus on the most dangerous criminals operating in Memphis. Violent repeat felons, many walking the streets despite having 3, 4, and 5 felony convictions, are no longer doing so. They're no longer walking these streets without the fear of federal and state local and state law enforcement getting together and taking them off the streets. We focused our efforts on the most violent gang members operating in Memphis, so much so that we've decapitated the leadership of the Rich and Ruthless gang and the Vice Lord gangs operating here in Memphis. Their leadership, their membership, is currently running the streets without any sort of direction. Gang members are falling apart. They're weakened. Their ability to coordinate and commit violent crimes are broken down because of the Memphis Safe Task Force. We've also been able to identify numerous firearms trafficking task force. Some of the evidence items that you see here were recovered from violent gang members. Many of these firearms were converted from semi-automatic weapons to be able to accept machine gun conversion devices, which now allow these rifles and pistols to shoot full auto. Those weapons were used by the gang members to terrorize this community and commit numerous homicides and numerous aggravated assaults. Those networks were identified and removed from operations. One in particular was operating three 3D printing machines, making machine gun conversion devices in his house when search warrants were executed by ATF and our Memphis Safe Task Force partners. Bleeding out, victim was transported to the hospital and ultimately survived because of the Memphis Safe Task Force being here. Our agents regularly talk to the members of the community. The community, when we first arrived, was in visible fear. They were afraid to walk out of their homes to the corner store. They were afraid to sit in their front yards because of being in fear of being victimized of a drive-by shooting. Those people are now approaching our agents and our partners, thanking us every day for being out there and taking the fear away from them so they and their family members could walk their communities and sit in their front yards and talk to their neighbors without fear of being killed or shot.
My name is Tim Pugh. I'm a co-founder and president of Pugh's Earthworks and Pugh's Flowers. My brothers and I have 2 family-owned businesses in Memphis, and this year marks our 50th year in business. Since we started our American dream. My entire family, including our new grandbaby, is living and working in Memphis. We want our family to feel and be safe. We have many friends that have moved away and encouraged their children to move away because of the escalating crime. We love Memphis and call it our home and would never want to move away. The crime in Memphis has affected my businesses. We've had several delivery vans full of flowers stolen as we're at the front door of someone's house delivering. Turn around and the van was gone. We've had landscape equipment stolen from job sites, so now we have to lock each piece of equipment to the truck while we're working on a property. And because of multiple break-ins, including one night we had 5 vans with the catalytic converter stolen on all 5. Due to repeated theft, we had to install an electric fence and multiple cameras around our main store to prevent this theft. All of this adds significant financial burdens and man hours. In the spring of last year, members of one of my landscape crews were robbed at gunpoint. This type of action became too normal in this city that I was raised in, and honestly, I felt that we were on a path of no return. How could we continue to operate our business when theft was rampant and, God forbid, lives were lost? Thankfully for you, Mr. President, we don't have to live and operate that way anymore. We have a great police force in Memphis, but they just needed reinforcements to get the crime under control. So thank you for bringing in those much needed reinforcements. Our mayor is doing a good job. Each week he's sending out emails of the progress. And just last Friday, he reported that crime was down well over 40%. Honestly, Mr. President, I feel like crime is down 100%. And that is because of what you've done. We want Memphis to grow and prosper, and to do that, you must have a low crime rate. People have to feel safe. That wasn't the case before, but now it is. Thank you to the task force and our city leaders for working together to make this happen. And thank you, Mr. President. Memphis owes you a lot of gratitude.
My name is Delicia Ballinger, and I'm a lifelong Memphian, and I'm a mother. And I wanted to speak with you today, not just as a citizen, but as a mom who's lived through what Memphis has become. I remember a different Memphis. I remember when the city felt alive, when families didn't have to think twice about safety, when kids could just go outside and just be kids. We had places to go, things to do, and a sense of pride about where we come from. But over the years, that Memphis has faded, and what it was replaced with was fear. For the Memphis Safe Task Force, I just didn't hear about crime, I lived it. I watched friends and people that I love lose their lives to the senseless violence. I've attended funerals that never should have happened. I've seen families torn apart, others grieving, and children growing up without parents, all because of violence that felt like it would never end. And those moments stay with you. They change how you see everything. But nothing's changed me more than becoming a mother. Because now, it wasn't just my life that I was worried about, it was my children. There was a drive-by shooting and a random bullet came through my home in that very same space where my son played. And to that day, this bullet hole is still in my wall, a permanent reminder of how close I came to losing everything. My family we are good people. We work hard every day to have everything that we have, only to have it taken away from us. We've experienced multiple burglaries in our home, and it wasn't just the material things that were stolen, it was our sense of security, our peace, our livelihood. And that violence just wasn't inside of our home, it was all around us. Just literally 4 houses down from where I live, a grandmother and her child was shot. I remember what sounded like almost 30 gunshots ring out. Yellow tape covered the street. After that day, those neighbors never returned. Their home now, with the for sale sign, stands as a reminder of a fear so deep that they couldn't come back to the place where they almost lost their lives. And that feeling, that fear, is something that my family knows all too well. That is not how families are supposed to live. That is not how children are supposed to grow up. We've reached out for help. For years, we looked to our local leaders hoping that something, anything would change, but nothing did. And that was until you, my president, stepped in. I need you to understand what that meant for families like mine, because in a matter of weeks, we felt a difference. Today, I can sit out on my porch and drink tea in peace. My children can go outside and play in our backyard again, and for the first time in 5 years, I don't hear any gunshots in my neighborhood. It's been almost 6 months, and it's like a whole new world. That silence means everything to me. It means safety, it means peace. It means that I can breathe again as a mother. What years of waiting couldn't fix, you did it in just 3 weeks. And I'll never forget that. My family will never forget that. And what's even more powerful is that that impact did not stop there. Because of the Memphis Safe Task Force, it has sparked continued efforts right here at home, like the Make Memphis Matter movement, led by the incredible, the most awesome State Senator Brent Taylor, starting in 2023, who is putting his best foot forward every day to continue the mission to make it a safer Memphis and to hold our SOARS-backed DA accountable at a state level, and partnering with the amazing Senators Hagerty and Blackburn on the federal level. And it's because of leadership like that, I believe that Memphis can become that place that I once remembered. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for seeing communities like mine. Thank you for taking action. Thank you for putting Americans first, especially right here in Shelby County in Memphis. Because this isn't politics for me. This is my life. This is for my children. In fact, President Trump, my son, my beautiful son, is here today, and he would like to wave and say thank you because now he's free to live a normal childhood.